Hey everybody, it's Cody here from Fly RCX, and I've got another how-to video for you today. So we're jumping into RealFlight Evolution. I'm going to show you how to edit your plane to make it fly more like you want it to. Because a lot of times the planes that come with RealFlight don't have exactly the characteristics you're looking for, or if you go to the swap pages on the RealFlight forum, some of those planes just fly a little bit weird. They got some really cool planes on there, and I've had some where I really wanted to use them in RealFlight, but they had such odd tendencies that it was just no fun flying them. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how you can get into the aircraft editor to make it more like what you want. And so we're going to start off with the E-Flite Extra 330 SC. So this is a relatively new one that E-Flite released last year. It's available as a DLC on RealFlight. I think it was like $3. But I ended up purchasing it just because I really like this plane. It's a really solid aerobatic foamy for learning some 3D and even some extreme aerobatics. So I'm just going to demonstrate here. This is the stock plane. I've not changed anything on it. I'm going to show you what it's capable of. Just do a quick 30 to 60 second flight doing some aerobatic maneuvers just to show you where it's lacking. Now I tend to fly more extreme aerobatics, XA, some 3D flying. So I love my planes being able to tumble and whip around, and this plane does not do that in its stock setting. So we'll go ahead and take off here. Now the safe mode and AS3X are turned off, and I got the high rates on. But as you can see, it's pretty aerobatic, but I'll show you where it's lacking. So in high alpha, it's a little bit sketchy. There's not a whole lot of authority in the elevator to really whip it into high alpha quickly. And so as you're hovering, it's a little bit nose heavy for my liking. And so if we try to go up and do, I don't even know what this maneuver is called, but when you exit a hover and kind of do a waterfall, it doesn't do it. You can't get it to whip around fast enough to actually complete that maneuver. I'll also go ahead and demonstrate one thing that you'd expect an aerobatic plane to be able to do is an inverted flat spin. This one kind of gets into it, but yeah, it just doesn't really get flat. And the more throttle you put in to try to flatten it out, it actually pulls it out of the maneuver. So overall, it's a good flying plane for some aerobatics and mild 3D, but not what I want. And to be honest, the sound that they have for that electric motor is really annoying. So we'll go ahead and reset this here. And now I'm going to show you how to do some adjustments to make this plane fly better. And you can do this on any model in RealFlight. So if you hop into RealFlight, this is probably what you're going to see. There's no menu across the top. I like the old school menu because I know where everything's at. So we're going to go ahead and enable that. I went into this in great detail in another video. I'm not going to do that here, but you just have to hit the tilde key, which is just to the left of the number 1, and go ahead and type show legacy menu, hit enter, hit the tilde key again to close the console. Bam, you got the old school menu right here. All right, so let's go ahead and start making some changes to this thing. So because of the characteristics of it not wanting to tumble, seems a little nose heavy in the hovers, I want to move the CG back, and I also want to get some more throw and authority on the elevator, the rudder, and maybe a little bit more on the aileron. So we'll go to aircraft, edit. You don't want to do the quick edit, you want to do the full edit. And so let me go ahead and shrink this a little bit and move it so you can see the full screen. Now, the biggest thing that we're going to change here is the center of gravity. Now I'll go ahead and describe a little bit of what's going on here. So this is the airplane editor where you can change the physics, what the plane looks like, the components of it. So it's a really cool tool here because it really dives into detail. If you build a plane from scratch for RealFlight, you have to go in and add all the components, map out what the airfoil is. Not going to get into that today, but there's a lot that goes into each model. So the main thing we're going to look at is the center of gravity, and you're going to find that here on the fuselage. And then we'll go to, actually, I'm sorry, it's the airframe, not the fuselage. So click the airframe, and here's your CG right here. So we're going to be looking at the Y value. The Y adjusts how forward and back it is from the center point of the wing. So we can see right here, it has been adjusted 2.2 inches in front of essentially the blade spar. So I'm going to move that back. Now, before I've started this video, I've already adjusted this to find where I wanted it. I'm not going to do that right now just because there's a lot of back and forth. But I know that I liked it at 0.5 just in front of the blade spar. So we'll change that to 0.5. And so I also want to mess with the motor a little bit because I like to put more power into my planes because I like to hover and be able to pull out of that maneuver easily. I like unlimited vertical. So a lot of times when I get a foam plane, I'll put a more powerful motor in there, higher amp ESC, maybe change the prop a little bit just to get a little bit more air flowing over those control surfaces. So we'll go to the motor, and you can make all sorts of adjustments here. So you can even change what sound is coming from that. You can change the thrust angles, and here's where the prop is. And so I'm going to go ahead and change the pitch on that to a 4. Nice, low pitch. Going to move a lot more air over the control surfaces. And so since we're going down in pitch, I want to go ahead and go up 1 inch in diameter. So now we're running a 14x4 prop on this plane. We'll leave everything the same here, but I'll go down and I want a little bit more power out of this. So right here, you got your power percentage. I'll go ahead and increase that by 25%. We'll go to 125. All right, so one thing, now that we have, the CG adjusted, we have more power. I'm not a big fan of the Expo that they put in for the planes here in RealFlight, because you can see right here, output channel 1 and high rates, the Expo is only 10%. Now on my Futaba, I run anywhere from 50 to 60% in high rates. I tried that in RealFlight. 50 to 60% is a little much. So we're going to go with 45 for the ailerons. We'll go with 45 for the elevator and 45 for the rudder. And so once we get that done, we are ready to save this model. So we'll go to File, Save As. Now, the file name will not let you save with a period or decimal point in the file name, so we'll go ahead and change that. It will also not let you save with a dash or a hyphen in there, so we'll remove that. We want to be able to distinguish which plane we're working on. So I've made a few of these edits, so I'm just going to go ahead and name this one video since I'm making this for the video, and then we'll save that. And so then you want to go to File, Exit to Simulator, and now you're ready to fly your newly adjusted plane. So we'll go ahead and take it for a spin here. As you can see, it whips around a whole lot better, but not quite to where I like it. We'll try doing a waterfall out of a hover. It's a little bit better, but not quite getting that tumble like I'm expecting. So we'll do one more edit. For this one, we can just do the quick edit. So we'll go and click quick edit. And you can see how many degrees of deflection we've got here. So elevator, we've got 25 degrees. Now, if I'm doing full 3D and XA, I want way more deflection than that. I've kind of messed around with this again before I recorded this video, and so I found that 35 degrees is the sweet spot. But as you're configuring planes, you can go in here and just mess around, change that to 40, even 50, whatever you want. Find that sweet spot that you like. And I want a little bit more roll rate, so I'll add 5 degrees on the aileron. And you'll see on this menu, you can also change your motor power here. We did that in the full airplane editor, but you can also change that power level here. So we'll go ahead and click save, exit out of that, and we'll see what that does for us. See, it pulls right up into a hover, no problem. There, that's what I was looking for. We'll go ahead and test out that inverted flat spin to make sure that's doing better. Oh yeah, that's flying how I would expect a 3D plane to fly. Let's see if we can do some pop tops with this, because we couldn't with the stock setting. I forgot to demonstrate that, but let's go ahead and try a pop top. Oh yeah, it does it no problem. It knife edges better. And you can even do some knife edge spins with this. It wasn't quite a knife edge spin, but as you can see, it's way more aerobatic. It's easier to pull into a high alpha. I don't have to pull back quite so far on the stick. As you can see below on my controller, I'm just barely halfway to the endpoint on the sticks, and it's going into a high alpha. Still a little bit unstable, but what can you expect from a small foam plane like this? So yeah, that is how you edit planes in RealFlight. I'll show you one more thing, because like I mentioned earlier, that small electric motor noise is really annoying. So let's change that. We'll go ahead and go back to the plane editor. Again, let me move this so my face is not in the way. We'll go to physics. Open up that drop-down menu, click on motor, and we'll go to the sound profile. So right now it's set to small outrunner. And you can also use your controller while you're in the plane editor to see what it'll do. It'll even spool up the motor. So we'll go ahead and change that. Let's try an OS 124 stroke. So whatever you set this to is what the noise will be. You could even do something crazy like set it to a turbine engine, but I'll go ahead and put it on, let's do a DA 150. Yeah, the RPMs are hitting a little too high for that to sound good. So let's try something, a large brushless with a planetary gearbox. Sounds a little better, but I want something that's a combustion engine. So we'll just go ahead and set it to, we'll leave it on that DA 100. So again, we'll go back and save. Exit to the simulator. Yes, we want to make sure those settings are saved. So now when we fly it, it sounds like a gas plane. Sounds a little weird with those higher RPMs, but you get the idea. You can change it to whatever you want. some of the planes that you can download off the swap page comes with new sound profiles, so you can add more engine sounds in there. But yeah, that is the essentials on editing planes to get them how you like. And you can get in there, adjust the CG. You can, once you kind of figure out this whole plane editing system, there's a lot of stuff you can do. So one of the things that I've been messing with is planes that have twin engines. I've been adding thrust differential, like the E-Flite Twin Otter. If you add some thrust differential in there, it makes it really fun because you can instantly flat spin. And so that's something that you can set up right here in the airplane editor. It's all done through the radio and electronics. So for each output, you can add different mixes. And so like right here, I can add either a gyro or a governor. You know, there's all sorts of different things that you can add on here. And one other cool thing is, let's say this plane, if we're looking at the physics, we'll go to the main wing. We can see that the wing length is 25 inches. Let's say we want a plane that's a little bit bigger. We're going to go to edit, rescale the physics. Let's do to 125%. So that just rescaled the underlying components that impact the physics to 125%. Now, if you were to just save it like this, the plane would look the same size, but would act like a bigger plane. So if we want the actual plane output, the looks of it to match the physics, then we go to vehicle. This says vehicle graphic scale, and we'll change that to 125%. Hit enter. And so now we go back, the actual visual of the plane matches the frame physics underneath. So I'm going to save this as a new plane because sometimes when you scale up the physics, it does some really weird stuff. I don't like messing with that. Some of the planes that you'll find on the swap pages, you can tell people have just scaled it up and they do really odd stuff. But for this one in particular, going and increasing the size by 25% didn't do a whole lot to impact it. It does fly a little weird that it's very slow. But otherwise flies okay. But I would just keep it at the stock size because the folks that made this plane engineered all the physics to be at the size that you get from the DLC. So when you scale it up, it can do some really weird stuff. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something from this. I'll be making some more videos on tips and tricks for altering your planes in RealFlight. I'll make another video showing how to set up thrust differential. I've also figured out how to put reverse thrust on pretty much any plane. So stay tuned. There'll be some more content coming out soon.